Calls for a stronger police presence. How the department is addressing those concerns.
I'm not up for the dumb questions. I'm up for real questions.
And Mayor Brendan Scott visibly upset with questions amid a week of controversy. FOX45 News looks into the message it's sending to voters.
And we're off to a chilly start again this morning, but I am tracking a warm-up that actually gets underway today. I'll let you know where these numbers are headed in a couple of minutes.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
And this is a live look over Towson right now on this Sunday morning. Thanks for being with us. It's February 19th. I'm Taylor Stewart, and you're in the right place. We're going to get you off with your forecast. Meteorologist Amy Aronson with what I'm expecting will be a little bit of a warm-up later, but not the case this morning.
Yeah, this morning's still a little bit of a chill. Not as bad as it was yesterday morning. We're not really dealing with any winds. We're all starting off right around freezing. So low 30s to get your Sunday morning started. But all of these numbers are going to climb and actually start to warm up today. It's the beginning of a nice little warming trend that's going to take over. So if we take a look at what we're planning out for the rest of the day, this morning's going to be a little cloudy with lows in the 30s. But by later this afternoon, we're going to be warming up, and I'm actually tracking highs into the 50s. For the rest of the week, we are tracking a few unsettled days right around midweek, but also some mild days. Actually, by Thursday, the potential for some near-record warmth with highs flirting with 70 degrees. Coming up in just over 10 minutes, I will break down all of our rain chances for the week ahead and let you know where all of our temperatures are headed to. Taylor?
All right, starting off here with a live look over Towson, where there's been a consistently higher police presence on the streets following a string of violence in the weeks prior. Now, since the beginning of this year, there's been a shooting, a stabbing, and 3 rapes. Maxine Stryker spoke to a local pastor about the root of the violence and what needs to change as residents are left on edge.
It's been a violent start to the year in Towson.
We need to come together, everybody.
Last Sunday, a shooting near the Towson Circle left 1 man injured along Chesapeake and Washington Avenue. Hours later, police say a victim was stabbed multiple times and punched in the face along Chesapeake Avenue. This comes after 3 women were raped at gunpoint steps from the Towson Circle earlier this month. Police arrested 28-year-old Quancy Davis, who police say had a stolen gun from Baltimore City, where court documents show he resides. And in January, several juveniles were arrested after a disturbance near the Towson Circle.
Bring the aggression from city life to living into the county.
Pastor and former police officer James McEachin says he believes much of the violence in the area can be traced back to Baltimore City.
Being seen that now a lot of the murders that are being committed in the county.
Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski says residents shouldn't worry.
I think it also presents a false narrative about the safety of Towson and Baltimore County. Looking at our crime statistics, crime has been persistently flat or down in most cases. That's true also in Towson. So we want to remind folks that Towson and all of Baltimore County is a very safe place to live, work, and raise a family.
They're blind to this because they don't believe this kind of stuff exists.
McEachin says it seems like much more than a narrative.
We haven't seen nothing yet.
A spokesperson for Baltimore County Police says officers have reallocated resources within the Central Towson Entertainment Squad to address safety concerns this weekend, and more police will be on the streets.
Yeah, we need feet on the streets.
Many just hoping this weekend is quieter than the last.
You used to use your hands and solve your problem. Now you got to solve the problem with a gun.
Now, Baltimore is seeing its own issues with youth violence this week. At least 6 teens were shot since Tuesday. 2 were shot as a part of a quadruple shooting that happened Wednesday night on Fayette Street, while a 15-year-old Mervo High student shot just hours earlier in North Baltimore. She's still recovering in the hospital as a string of crimes against young people in the city catches the attention of Mayor Brendan Scott.
And I want everyone to get mad and get angry. There isn't one thing that's going to stop things like this from happening.
As seriously as we take every child victim in this city, we also have to take seriously the crimes that are being committed by juveniles.
A proposed bill in Annapolis would change the way juveniles are prosecuted, no longer sending them directly to adult court. We'll take a closer look at the arguments for and against that measure. That's coming up at 8:15. Well, we're now learning more about the mayor's conduit deal at BGE and what it could cost you if the final numbers are approved. If you're a customer, your monthly bill would go up by an average of 10 cents and $10.36 each month. Well, that means you could pay $124 more annually for your utilities. Now, you can see a breakdown of the full cost on FOXBaltimore.com. BGE filed a request with the Maryland Public Service Commission just this past Friday, 2 days after that deal was approved. But some argue it was rushed.
There's 9% inflation right now. I don't think anybody disputes whether or not the rates are going to go up, but this would allow them to not go up as much.
So this administration has decided to unilaterally support this private institution that has a statewide operation on the backs of Baltimore City residents.
Again,
in a rush fashion.
Baltimore City Council President Nick Mosby and Comptroller Bill Henry sat out Wednesday's vote after calling for the conduit deal to be taken off the agenda entirely. Mayor Brandon Scott and his 2 appointed BOE members voted to approve the deal anyways, something Henry says is illegal. Mayor Brandon Scott's office says they were perfectly within their right to move on this deal.
An unsuccessful attempt to vote solely on the conduit proposal was made to look as if the item had been approved. It wasn't even a very convincing attempt. No opening statement was read. No effort was made to call for a vote on the routine agenda, nor on any other items on the non-routine agenda. Nor were any protests or statements of opposition noted or public comment permitted, all of which would have happened at an actual meeting of the Board of Estimates as is required by the rules and regulations of the board. They're also saying that by not being present, we abstained and so still counted towards quorum, which I have trouble even repeating with a straight face.
Now, Comptroller Henry said he would have been open to the deal if the terms were, quote, good for Baltimore. But Henry says he doesn't believe that is the case. He's going to actually join us this morning to discuss the conduit situation at 8:30. Check in for that. Now, Baltimore City Council member Zeke Cohen has been among the louder critics, proposing a complete overhaul of the Board of Estimates, replacing appointed and elected members with people from the community. He says they'd be a better reflection of what's best for Baltimore.
It's not a situation where I want it to become a political tussle between the mayor and the council president or anybody else. This is an opportunity for Baltimoreans, those of us that live here, that are sending our kids to school here, that deal with the day-to-day issues, but that love our city, to have a voice in reshaping it.
Cohen also said he'd be open to disbanding BOE entirely and running spending requests through the city council, like in several other major U.S. cities. After the break, reaction from former President Jimmy Carter's family as his health is on the decline.
And we're starting the morning off in the 30s, but look at where we're headed today. The 50s are back, actually near 60 by this afternoon. And this is just the start of a nice mild week ahead of us. I'll let you know when the 60s and 70s are in sight this week in a couple of minutes. It's 7:08. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News.
Fox 45 News, winner of 17 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
Happening right now, President Jimmy Carter is in hospice care at the age of 98, America's oldest living president, making the decision to spend his remaining time at home with his family following a series of short hospital stays. Carter was diagnosed with skin cancer in 2015, which has since spread to his brain and liver. Now, President Carter's grandson, Jason, says he visited both of his grandparents Friday, saying they're at peace with the decision and their family is full of love. Now, John here tweeting this. He points out that some of Carter's accomplishments. He graduated top 10% of the Naval Academy, then served in the nuclear sub program for several years before becoming president. And on Friday, a building at the Naval Academy was renamed in Carter's honor. He graduated there in 1946. Download the Fox 45 News app for breaking news, up-to-the-minute coverage, traffic conditions, school closings, weather, anytime. Just search WBFF in your app store. And coming up, the youth crime crisis on the rise in Baltimore, starting off the 2023 year with multiple shootings. New information, though, surrounding the 16-year-old charged in the murder of the January quintuple shooting. And this morning, Project Baltimore continues to press for answers as a report shows 23 city schools with 0 students testing proficient in math on those state exams. How our reporting is making national headlines. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. Baltimore City Schools is facing a lot of criticism after a recent Project Baltimore report found that nearly 24 schools were not a single student among those tested is doing math at a proficient grade level. As Project Baltimore's Chris Passer explains, instead of sitting down with answers to the questions, the school system's response follows a pattern we've seen for 6 years now.
It was a revelation that couldn't be ignored.
And our kids are not caught up, but we're passing them.
Astonishing and so sad.
A Project Baltimore investigation finds 23 Baltimore City schools where 0 students among those tested scored proficient in math. In total, 2,000 students from those schools took the state math test. Not one scored proficient.
They go there to get babysat for 8 hours and come home.
Parents, lawmakers, community leaders demanding city schools fix the problem now.
What we've seen is a continued failure.
But through all of it, one voice has been missing. No one from Baltimore City Schools administration will sit down with Project Baltimore. But this is not new. Baltimore City Schools has refused to interview with Project Baltimore since 2017, even as we have seen test scores, graduation rates, attendance, college enrollment all go in the wrong direction. This is one of America's most funded large school systems, and it has refused to speak with us about problems we have uncovered for nearly 6 years. Who's at fault here?
I'm not really sure there's one person to say is at fault.
It was May 2017 when Project Baltimore broke the news that at 6 city schools, not a single student tested scored proficient in either math or English. At the time, Janice Lane, City Schools Executive Director of Teaching and Learning, sat down for an interview. Is the school district at fault?
I think that I wouldn't say the school district's at fault.
Lane explained the steps North Avenue is taking to improve test scores, including extra resources for these 6 schools and increased training for teachers and principals.
It's not satisfying for any of us in city schools to see the data and the numbers look like that.
We didn't know at the time, but that interview would be the last interview city schools would grant Project Baltimore to discuss student performance. A few months later, we reported that 13 Baltimore City high schools had 0 students tested score proficient in math. This time, city schools did not want to talk about it. Instead, they sent a written statement saying, "These results underscore the urgency of the work we are now pursuing." The district said it was rolling out a new math curriculum and again focusing on teacher development.
If almost half of our kids are failing, what options do they have after high school?
In 2021, Project Baltimore found 41% of all Baltimore City high school students earned below a 1.0 grade point average in the first 3 quarters of that school year. That's below a D average.
Santa Lisa's, she should actually be embarrassed.
Despite outrage in the community, City Schools again declined an interview and released a statement with steps it was taking to help students acquire the unfinished learning they lost. We got a similar reaction from North Avenue in 2022 when Project Baltimore obtained student test results known as iReady scores that showed 77% of students at Patterson High School were reading at elementary school levels. We spoke with a teacher at the school, a former student, and parents.
Our kids, they're being set up for failure.
But again, City Schools declined an interview and just released a statement. iReady scores do not provide a complete or final picture of student performance.
Baltimore City is facing a devastating reality.
And now, Project Baltimore's most recent investigation showing 2,000 students from 23 Baltimore City schools did not score proficient in state math testing. Again, no interviews from city schools administrators, just a statement outlining what have become familiar steps to improve. But this time, North Avenue says it's confident these instructional strategies will help. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
That brings us to our question of the day. Do you think the Baltimore City Schools and CEO and school board are acting in the best interest of students? So far, 63% of those who have voted say no. Go to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. We wanted to display the results throughout the show. Alrighty, let's get over to meteorologist Amy Aronson, because it's cold this morning, but can we even call this winter anymore? What's going on?
Yeah, back in the 50s again today. So another week where temperatures are on the rise. And that includes today. Little overcast right now looking down at Towson. We are starting off with some morning clouds and some chilly temperatures to begin. Not quite as cold as it was yesterday. We're swapping out the 20s for the 30s. Low 30s in most spots. We've actually got 41 already in Annapolis. And all these numbers will be improving today, especially once we get these clouds out of here. So little itty bitty disturbance pushing through right now, clouding up our skies. Not going to last long. We should actually see some clearing this afternoon. Some sunshine returns, and that's going to help warm us up. Future scan shows that perfectly. Shows that we make a run for the mid and actually upper 50s later today, getting close to 60 degrees in some spots. Not bad to finish out the weekend. As we get into Monday, we start off actually not as cold. Mid 40s to begin the morning, and then another mild afternoon will follow, with highs once again landing in the upper 50s. We do have that brief chance for a couple of sprinkles, but I don't think enough rain to get in the way of anything you have planned outside for President's Day. Actually, low 60s is where we end up on Monday. Rain chances hold off until Tuesday. That's when I'm throwing in the chance for some spotty showers, and then showers do become more scattered as we head through midweek. Temperatures all over the place this week. We've got a little bit of everything. We've got upper 50s to near 60 to start, both today and tomorrow. We do break into the 60s on Tuesday, and then after that, a brief little cool down will follow on Wednesday as the showers roll through. I think we're closer to 48, but look at Thursday. We shoot back up to near 70 degrees, so some incredible warmth there to close out the week. And according to the Climate Prediction Center, latest update actually shows there's a decent chance above average temperatures will now stick around through the end of the month and actually heading into March 4th. So this outlook takes us all the way through March 4th. You'll notice we are included in that orange color there, indicating a decent chance our temperatures will actually stay above average. You can see that in our 7-day forecast. Yes, there's a couple of exceptions. We are warming up through Tuesday, but then we're briefly cooler midweek with showers rolling through. We're warmer again on Thursday. Cooler again, though, Friday and Saturday. And yes, Saturday, there's actually a small potential. We could see a brief period of a mix of rain and snow showers to get things started, with high temperatures briefly in the much colder mid-40s. Taylor?
The world's largest student-run philanthropy effort underway at Penn State University. How they're raising money for pediatric cancer research. And NASCAR's biggest race kicks off its 75th season today. What you can expect to see as the historic season is set to begin. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. All right, February is American Heart Health Month, and medical experts are trying to raise awareness about the dangers of heart disease. It is the leading cause of death in this country. In America, every 34 seconds, someone dies of heart disease. A cardiologist at the University of Maryland joined us on Fox 45 News yesterday morning to share some really simple CPR tips that could help save someone's life.
This can be used by a 5th grade level of education, right? So you don't need any training in it. It's simple, 1, 2, 3. It's going to talk you through it. All you have to do is have the courage to turn it on, right? And it's going to tell you what to do, right? So we've called 911. We're going to hook this in here.
To patient's bare chest.
This would be that.
Yep, let's hook this in here.
Connector next to
There's 2 pads, right? So we're going to take pad number 1. You can take that off.
Heart rhythm. Do not touch the patient.
Okay.
And then it's going to have a picture where to put it here.
Perfect.
You're going to take pad number 2.
Very simple. The pictures are
very, very simple, right? So pad here, pad here. It's a little ahead of us, but right. So we're going to put the pad right where it tells us to go.
Press the orange button now.
So it has analyzed the rhythm when it's here. You cannot shock someone. You cannot cause harm in these situations, right? It's going to tell you to shock, and now you can actually push the orange button.
Shock delivered.
It's going to deliver a shock to the patient. So you've just saved this patient's life.
The U.S. Department of Health says staying active and at a healthy weight are the best ways to treat your heart and keep it healthy. If you can, walk at least 30 minutes a day, 5 days out the week. Control your blood pressure and cholesterol, and make sure you're managing your stress. There are more tips available on foxbaltimore.com/newslinks. Happening right now, the largest student-run philanthropy effort in the world is underway at Penn State University. On your right, a live look of the event, as known as the Thon. Each year, students gather for Thon Weekend to raise millions of dollars for pediatric cancer research. The 46-hour continuous dance event raised over $13 million in 2022 as children with cancer and their families join students in fighting for a great cause. Still to come, we are taking a closer look at college hoops this morning on Sports Unlimited, from the Towson Tigers to the Maryland Terrapins. And it is a chilly morning, but we are nearing the 60s today. That is going to be the high. Meteorologist Amy Aronson is going to take a look at when the next weather baker, though, is moving on in. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Bright and early Sunday morning for you here at 7:30. You're looking live over Baltimore, and you are in the right spot. Thanks for being with us here this Sunday, February 19th. I'm Taylor Stewart. Let's talk to who we want to talk to, though. Your forecast meteorologist, Amy Aronson. Looking blue behind you, but that's not what you've been saying this morning.
Yeah, it's going to warm up after this morning. We just got to get through this near freezing morning, and all of these temperatures are actually going to improve significantly. So today is going to be the better of the 2 weekend days for outdoor plans so far. Yesterday, a little chilly. Today won't be the case. We're back in the mid-50s, mid and upper 50s this afternoon. And tomorrow for President's Day, the long weekend continues. Looks just as nice. Yes, I'm tracking a few extra clouds and the potential for a few sprinkles, but the day as a whole is far from a washout. And it's actually going to stay nice and mild again, with high temperatures soaring well into the mid and upper 50s. And actually, much of the week will be pretty mild. We do have a couple of rain chances, though, and that will have an impact on our temperatures. I'll let you know exactly what that impact is in just about 10 minutes. Taylor?
And I want everyone to get mad and get angry. There isn't one thing that's going to stop things like this from happening.
Mayor Brandon Scott is voicing his frustration over juvenile crime this week, as a 15-year-old student is in the fight of her life right now following a shooting that happened Wednesday night. At least 21 children have been shot so far this year in Baltimore, an 88% increase from this time last year. A 16-year-old is in police custody accused of shooting another 16-year-old. You recall this quintuple shooting that happened at the Edmondson Westside High School just blocks away from there back in January. It is part of the youth crime crisis felt both among suspects and now victims. Fox 45's Keith Daniels has that 16-year-old family's call for justice.
Outside the Clarence Mitchell Jr. Courthouse in downtown Baltimore, family members wipe the grief away, and there is a touch on the shoulder for comfort. The father, stepmother, and aunt of murdered 16-year-old Deontay Dorsey shed tears while their lawyer talks about the gun violence that struck Dorsey and continues to grip other young people in the city.
As seriously as we take every child victim in this city, we also have to take seriously the crimes that are being committed by juveniles.
The family is outside the courthouse on the same day Dorsey's accused killer, a 16-year-old boy, appears for a bail hearing. At that hearing, a revelation. As reported by the Baltimore Banner, the 16-year-old suspect charged with murdering Dorsey was on juvenile probation for a prior gun charge when police say he opened fire last month on a crowd of students across from Edmondson Westside High School, killing Dorsey, wounding 4 other students. Baltimore District Judge Flynn Owens cited the teen suspect's juvenile record when denying him bail. Youth violence amid the debate over State Senator Jill Carter's controversial bill that would prevent juveniles from being tried as adults, even for crimes like murder. Carter says the Youth Equity Act is necessary because kids' brains aren't fully developed until at least 25 years old.
The very children under our current law that could be automatically charged as an adult, tried by a jury, are not even eligible to serve on a jury because they're under the age of 18. So right there, you're talking about a major hypocrisy and inconsistency in our system.
Still, back at the courthouse, Dorsey's family, hoping the 16-year-old suspect in their loved one's case remains in adult court.
Justice has to be done, not on street corners, but in courthouses.
Now, that was our Keith Daniels reporting. He mentioned Senator Jill Carter's bill. It would automatically start every case involving a minor in the youth justice system. But some victim advocate groups say the bill, if it passes, it could be a slap in the face to those very victims.
Even on the most serious offenses, you're talking about taking an individual and putting them into a program for 6 to 9 months and then returning them to the street.
Now, some are also concerned because the juvenile records are sealed, meaning it may possibly be impossible to know if someone has committed a violent crime in the past. Baltimore City State Attorney Ivan Bates wants to strengthen misdemeanor gun sentences, backing a bill that would increase possible sentences up to 5 years, no matter of the age of the suspect. He's citing current rules that allow people out after serving just 25% of a sentence, less than a year in some cases. Now, that bill in Annapolis now has bipartisan support, but it's not clear when it will be up for a vote by state lawmakers. If you want to contact your area lawmaker about crime in your community, go ahead and just point your phone to the screen there. That QR code will take you straight to our website. We have a list of all the official emails and phone numbers of local and state senators and delegates for you to contact. Now, this week, Mayor Brandon Scott is spotlighting and dodging questions, from Fox 45 News, while taking other questions at times. Vincent Hill spoke to a scholar about his thoughts on the mayor's leadership and how residents are feeling about the mayor's time in office.
A tough week for Mayor Brandon Scott. For multiple teens shot, including a 15-year-old Merville High School student still fighting for her life. The mayor responding with this when asked about the city's violence.
Stop right there. I'm telling y'all tonight, I'm not up for it. I'm not up for the dumb questions. I'm up for real questions.
To push back from city leaders about a conduit deal with BGE.
And it looks like this was a power play between the mayor and BGE.
When pressed by Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost, the mayor responding with this.
Do you have anything to gain personally from this contract?
Mackenzie, that's the most disrespectful questions you've ever asked me. No.
You don't answer a question by telling the person it's disrespectful. You answer the question. If you think it's irrelevant, you say it's irrelevant.
House and rhetoric professor Richard Vatz criticizing Mayor Scott's responses to questions that question his leadership.
His go-to reaction to bad news is not to talk about policy development, but to get angry at those who report the bad news and question about leadership.
Vatz saying Mayor Scott still has a long way to go to be considered a leader.
And I hope he finally makes a decision to be a leader who deals with substantive problems.
So we asked Baltimore residents about the mayor's performance and if he should run for re-election next year. This Hamden resident giving the mayor a passing score.
I believe that the mayor has done a great job, honestly.
Saying the mayor has his vote.
Think he should run for re-election?
Sure.
Why do you think he should run for re-election?
Just because of how personally he is with the city and from what I've seen him and how he gets involved.
A few miles away near Mondawmin, this resident says the mayor is barely passing.
I'm giving him a D right now.
He says the mayor hasn't kept his campaign promises.
First, get the crime out the way, because there's too many murders, too much open air drug market. We got to get that down.
And when it comes to a re-election bid for Mayor Scott,
if he was up for re-election right now, he wouldn't win.
That brings us to our question of the day. Do you approve of Mayor Brandon Scott's job performance? So far, 95% of you guys say no. Just head to the polls right now. They just opened at foxbaltimore.com/vote to make your voice heard. A massive explosion leading to a deadly fire, all of it caught on camera in Prince George's County. After the break, residents describe the frantic rush to escape an apartment building.
And we are counting down to all the spring things. We spring forward in only 21 days. St. Patrick's Day coming up in 26 days. And then we officially kick off the spring equinox in 29 days. We're actually going to get another little taste of spring this week with our temperatures. I'll let you know what day is going to be the warmest one. We're also tracking some showers in a couple of minutes. It's 7:38. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News.
Making headlines this morning, an East Baltimore resident is recovering in the hospital after flames engulfed his home last night. Firefighters responded to a house fire along Montfort Avenue. Our photographer spoke to a neighbor who said it began around 9:30. We're working to get an update on that victim's condition and bring you that as it becomes available. And in Silver Spring, scary scenes. One person died and at least 17 others injured after an apartment fire there. It's unclear what caused the explosion early yesterday morning, but officials say that's what started the fire. At least 150 firefighters were called to the scene and located that fire, contained it on the 7th floor, but it was just too late.
When I first stood outside, it was like all these flames was falling, and I told my mom it was a fire, and she was like, all right, let's go. She grabbed her things, we left out, and then we just rushed out the door.
It was pretty bad since I didn't get out right. Like the firemen were already there, thank God. There was water coming down the stairs when I was going down, so I had to ask if I was still able to get out.
At least 10 residents were trapped inside. They had to be rescued from their balconies. Maryland State Fire Marshals are still searching for one person following a house fire in Bel Air. The fire marshal says an explosion is likely the cause. 2 homeowners were unaccounted for several hours, but have since been found. Officials say excavation equipment is out, and they're still searching for a third person. The next weather maker on its way to Baltimore. Meteorologist Amy Aronson taking a look at if our above average temperatures are going to stick around. And the start of the 75th NASCAR season, it is here. After the break, what you can expect from today's race, which you can watch right here on Fox 45. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. All right, the day has finally come. Today, the Daytona 500 kicks off the 2023 NASCAR season. And even though the NASCAR season culminates with the championship at the end of the year, it is the Daytona 500 that many drivers put at the top of their list. Jill Jelnick from our Sinclair sister station is at the Daytona International Speedway with a preview of the race.
The Daytona 500 is unlike any other race on the Cup Series schedule. It's a race that has kicked off dynasties, launched careers, and it's the only Cup Series race where you can call yourself a champion at the very end. While the Daytona 500 means different things to different drivers, they all agree on one thing. You win at Daytona, and you're a legend.
Daytona 500 is its own race within itself, so
I like to think that our season starts after the 500.
It's the race that every driver wants on their resume. But it's one of the hardest races to win.
You have a better chance winning the lottery than you do the Daytona 500.
Two-time Cup Series champion Kyle Busch has done seemingly everything in his career, but a win in NASCAR's most prestigious race still eludes him.
Checking that box would be big. Last one to be able to not say that I've had a great career already, but would certainly be icing on the cake.
Alex Bowman will be the pole sitter for Sunday's race, with Kyle Larson next to him in the front row. But just because you have a good position, there's still no guarantee.
Been a part of driving some really fast race cars down here for Hendrick Motorsports, and obviously really fortunate to be driving such a fast Ally 48 Camaro. So got to get the job done on Sunday, but it's a really good start to the week for us.
Defending Cup Series champion Joey Logano and Eric Almirola won their dual qualifying races and will share row 2. 7-time Cup Series champion Jimmy Johnson, who returns on a part-time basis after 2 seasons in IndyCar, will race 39th. And right behind him, extreme sports icon Travis Pastrana rounding out the 40.
I was so nervous, man. I've been wired up for a month.
Only one can win the Harley J. Earl Trophy, but being a part of the Great American Race is never taken for granted.
As a racing fan, there's nothing like Daytona.
Driver introductions for the Daytona 500 kick off at 2:15 Eastern, followed by the flag drop at 2:30. Reporting from Daytona International Speedway, I'm Jill Jelnick.
In other sports news, well, first up, you can watch that Daytona race here. 500 FOX45 starts at 2:30, and the green flag goes up shortly thereafter. But here in Baltimore, we are counting down the days to the CIAA tournament. The first game tips off on Tuesday. It is a historic tournament, making 50 years since the induction of Title IX. The CIAA is one of the few conferences to host men and women basketball tournaments on the same facility, same weekend. Those tickets on sale right now. It's happening at the newly renovated CFG Bank Arena. And truly not a bad week to get out and see some basketball. Meteorologist Amy Aronson, it looks gorgeous behind you right now. I mean, come on.
Yeah, pretty start to our Sunday. We've got that nice little glow shining down on the Inner Harbor. We are looking at a milder day ahead of us, actually. Still chilly this morning, still bundle up and dress for the low 30s. But this afternoon, the upper 50s are back. And that's where temperatures are going to stay as we kick off a brand new week. I'm tracking some showers by midweek and then a brief late week warm up. That's going to send us into the 70s briefly. Today, we're not exactly talking 70 degrees, but still feels better than yesterday. Normal high at 47. We'll get above that today by about 10 degrees. So temperatures are warming about 10 degrees above where they should be, with a nice healthy mix of clouds and sun. For President's Day tomorrow, if you're lucky enough to have the day off of work and want to enjoy some fresh air or some time outside, yes, we're tracking increasing clouds and a couple of sprinkles during the afternoon, but it's going to be another really mild day with temperatures in the upper 40s to begin and then upper 50s to near 60 degrees to end. Now let's talk about our next weather maker. We've got a little cold front off to our west there. That's what we're going to keep a watchful eye on as we head into early next week. We're a little cloudy this morning, but the clouds will give way to sun as we head towards the afternoon. And Future Scan shows some clearing this afternoon. We do throw in a risk for a couple of sprinkles tomorrow as that front nears us and drops in from the north. Another front will follow on Tuesday, another chance for showers with that. That chance for showers will actually take us through midweek as another warm front lifts through the area. So a series of little disturbances coming through Tuesday into Wednesday this week, sending us a couple of chances for rain. Also sending us some temperature ups and downs this week. Temperatures will be up through about Tuesday. We're in the mid-60s at that point, despite that rain chance. A big dip in temperatures by midweek. We're briefly back in the upper 40s, but then we're near 70 degrees on Thursday. That warm-up does not last long. We cool it back into the mid-50s on Friday, mid-40s by Saturday, with another chance for another little weather maker to move in. This one will push in with that colder air, so there is a brief chance we could see a mix of rain and something we haven't seen a lot of this winter, some snow showers by early Saturday morning. Taylor?
Maryland with an emotional win at Michigan State. What Terps leader Diamond Miller had to say about tip-off following this week's mass shooting in East Lansing. That's after the break on Sports Unlimited.
Hey everyone, it's Morgan Adsit with your AM Sports Reports. The best thing about a handful of Division I programs only miles apart, the universities are not afraid to play each other. College lacrosse, the leader for this. Loyola opened the season against #1 Maryland, and the Greyhounds pulled off a huge Week 1 upset, earning them a chance to claim local bragging rights. They added to it, Loyola hosting 9 Johns Hopkins, the Blue Jays on Game 4 already. 9 different Greyhounds scored goals, none with a better name than Mustang Sally. Sally made it 10-2. Loyola late third, the Hounds by as much up as 9. The Jays did rip off the final 3 to close the game, but Loyola with 2 impressive wins to start off 2023, 13-8 the final. Same matchup on the women's side at Ridley. Loyola's season opener against Johns Hopkins. Greyhounds down 1-0 early, and then Anna Ruby changes that with the bouncer. Game tied 1-1, and the Hounds get the weekend sweep over the Jays, 12-10 the final. Back to the men. Maryland ranked 4th in Week 2, hosting Syracuse. Maryland with 5 different multi-goal scorers, none bigger than junior Daniel Kelly. Kelly ripping off the first of the game. The attackman led with 4 goals and 2 assists for a career-high 6 points. 15-12 Terps the final. They've extended their College Park winning streak to 20 games, almost 3 years strong. Imagine being in college since 2018 and it's not med school. Nicholas Timberlake joined Pat Scary's program at Towson 5 years ago. The extra time comes from redshirt and COVID years. And after helping Towson earn its first CAA regular season title last year, Timberlake and a handful of other seniors are trying for another first under Scary, the NCAA tournament. Towson's got to get through February 1st, though. The Tigers' home finale against North Carolina A&T is their autism awareness game, hence the Baby Blues. Towson out to a 14-0 start. Timberlake buries the 3. The Tigers get up 18 off another Timberlake make from long range, 22 Towson. Tigers up 13 at the break. Second half, the Aggies get within reach. Demetriak Horton triple. Towson's lead is cut to 10. Then Aggies have numbers. Tyrese Elliott getting the finish underneath. 50-44 Towson still up, though, and Timberlake got even hotter from outside. Knocks down back-to-back 3 balls for Towson. Tigers up 9. Under 5 to play, only a bucket lead, and Timberlake says not enough. Extends it. He dropped 26, 6 threes. Towson moves to 11-5 in the CAA, 87-75. To the MEAC, Howard at Coppin State. Eagles trying to snap an 8-game losing streak. Naday Tart getting involved early and often for a long ball. Coppin's down 9-8. Still early first. Sam Sessions finished off the glass. Eagles are on a run 17-9. But here comes the Bison out to Steve Settle. That's good for 2. Howard's down 6, now up 3. Coppin transition. Tart bucket foul. Eagles down 1, but Howard goes on to win by 10, 80-70 that final. To summarize how it started at Maryland, all starters minus Diamond Miller out, gone to the transfer portal or graduation. Miller turned down transfer offers of her own, stayed, and became Maryland's leader. Now it's how it's going. She's one of the best players in college basketball, most likely a top 3 WNBA draft pick. But first thing, she's eyeing championships and March. Number 8 Maryland, though, a tough one at Michigan State. The game started with a moment of silence for those lives lost this week on campus following another mass shooting in our country. Now to the game. You know you're having a big day when this happens. Miller pushing, tries to split the defense, ran into him, foul, throws up the bucket. Maryland up 6 in the third. Closer game than Maryland wanted, but Miller's biggest bucket, getting some space from Sparty, comes off the pick to the hoop. Maryland goes up 8 with under 3 to play, and the Terps hold on. Miller dropped 29, 66-61 final. Here's Miller on what playing at Michigan State was like.
That is just tragedy. Like, I never want anybody to not feel safe in their campus. So the fact that this happened to this school is really sad. But like I said, I have to flip a switch somehow and do my job, which is play basketball. But I never stopped thinking about those 3 students and what the students have gone through on this campus.
Well said by Miller. Now that's your morning sports report. I'm Morgan Adsit for Fox 45 Morning News.
Topping your headlines this morning, a string of recent violence in Towson prompting calls for stronger police presence. How the department is addressing those concerns.
I'm not up for the dumb questions. I'm up for real questions.
Mayor Brandon Scott visibly upset when pressed with questions from Fox 45 News. We're looking into the message it sends to voters.
And we're off to a chilly start this morning, but I am tracking a warming trend today. I'll let you know where these numbers are headed in a couple of minutes.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
On 8 o'clock right now, looking at Towson, and the sun is up. This day has started, and you're in the right place with us here this Sunday, February 19th. I'm Taylor Stewart. Let's get right on over to your forecast. Meteorologist Amy Aronson with the unseasonably warm temperatures we're expecting today and later this week, I guess.
Yeah, eventually. We got to get through the morning. The morning, little chilly to begin. Just mid and upper 30s to start, so not quite as cold as it was yesterday, but still calls for a jacket as you step out this morning, maybe to get the dog out or go for a jog. Little cloudy to start with lows in the 30s this morning, but this afternoon will be milder, actually, with highs back in the 50s. This week comes with a few unsettled days, but also a few very mild days. For example, by Thursday, we're actually going to be nearing 70 degrees. Low 70s coming our way on Thursday. But after that, a big cool down will follow. So I'll explain exactly what's coming up for the rest of the week, when we're tracking rain, when we could even see some snow showers in the week ahead, all in 10 minutes. Taylor?
A live look over Towson this morning, where there is a consistently higher police presence on the streets following a string of violence in recent weeks. Now, since the beginning of the year, there has been a shooting, a stabbing, 3 different rapes. Maxine Stryker spoke to a local pastor about the root of the violence and what needs to change, as residents say they are left on edge.
It's been a violent start to the year in Towson.
We need to come together, everybody.
Last Sunday, a shooting near the Towson Circle left one man injured along Chesapeake and Washington Avenue. Hours later, police say a victim was stabbed multiple times and punched in the face along Chesapeake Avenue. This comes after 3 women were raped at gunpoint steps from the Towson Circle earlier this month. Police arrested 28-year-old Quancy Davis, who police say had a stolen gun from Baltimore City, where court documents show he resides. And in January, several juveniles were arrested after a disturbance near the Towson Circle.
Bring the aggression from city life to living into the county.
Pastor and former police officer James McEachin says he believes much of the violence in the area can be traced back to Baltimore City.
Being seen that now a lot of the murders that are being committed in the county.
Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski says residents shouldn't worry.
I think it also presents a false narrative about the safety of Towson and Baltimore County. Looking at our crime statistics, crime has been persistently flat or down in most cases. That's true also in Towson. So we want to remind folks that Towson and all of Baltimore County is a very safe place to live, work, and raise a family.
They're blind to this because they don't believe this kind of stuff exists.
McEachin says it seems like much more than a narrative.
We haven't seen nothing yet.
A spokesperson for Baltimore County Police says officers have reallocated resources within the Central Towson Entertainment Squad to address safety concerns this weekend, and more police will be on the streets.
Yeah, we need feet on the streets.
Many just hoping this weekend is quieter than the last.
You used to use your hands and solve your problem. Now you got to solve the problem with a gun.
Now, Baltimore City is seeing its own issue with youth violence this week. At least 6 teens were shot since Tuesday. 2 of them were shot as part of a quadruple shooting Wednesday night. It happened on Fayetteville Street. Now, a 15-year-old Mervo High School student was shot hours earlier in North Baltimore. She is still recovering in the hospital. This as the string of crime against young people is catching the attention of Mayor Brandon Scott.
And I want everyone to get mad and get angry. There isn't one thing that's going to stop things like this from happening.
As seriously as we take every child victim in this city, we also have to take seriously the crimes that are being committed by juveniles.
A proposed bill in Annapolis would change the way juveniles are prosecuted, no longer sending them directly to adult court. Now, we're going to take a closer look at the arguments for and against that measure. That's coming up later at 6:15. Now, we are learning more, though, about the mayor's conduit deal with BGE and what it could cost you if the final numbers are approved. If you're a customer, your monthly bill would go up by an average of $10.36 each month. Now, that means you could pay $124 more annually each year for your utilities. You can see the full breakdown of the cost on foxbaltimore.com. BGE just filed that request with the Maryland Public Service Commission on Friday, 2 days after the deal was approved. But some say it was rushed.
There's 9% inflation right now. I don't think anybody disputes whether or not the rates are going to go up, but this would allow them to not go up as much.
So this administration has decided to unilaterally support this private institution that has a statewide operation on the backs of Baltimore City residents.
Again,
in a rushed fashion.
Now, Baltimore City Council President Nick Mosby and Comptroller Bill Henry sat out Wednesday's vote after calling for the conduit deal to be taken off the agenda entirely. The mayor and his two appointed BOE members voted to approve the deal anyways, something Henry says is illegal. Mayor Scott's office says they were perfectly within their right to move on the deal.
An unsuccessful attempt to vote solely on the conduit proposal was made to look as if the item had been approved. It wasn't even a very convincing attempt. No opening statement was read. No effort was made to call for a vote on the routine agenda, nor on any other items on the non-routine agenda. Nor were any protests or statements of opposition noted or public comment permitted, all of which would have happened at an actual meeting of the Board of Estimates, as is required by the rules and regulations of the board. They're also saying that by not being present, we abstained and so still counted towards quorum, which I have trouble even repeating with a straight face.
Comptroller Henry said he would have been open to the deal if the terms were, quote, good for Baltimore. But Henry says he doesn't believe that's the case. He's going to join us live to discuss the conduit situation at 8:30. We'll also have David Williams with the Taxpayer Protection Alliance for the impact on you, the viewer. Now, Baltimore City Council member Zeke Cohen has been among the louder critics. He's proposing a complete overhaul of the Board of Estimates, replacing appointed and elected members with people from the community. He says would be a better reflection of what's best for Baltimore.
It's not a situation where I want it to become a political tussle between the mayor and the council president or anybody else. This is an opportunity for Baltimoreans, those of us that live here, that are sending our kids to school here, that deal with the day-to-day issues, but that love our city, to have a voice in reshaping it.
Cohen also said he'd be open to disbanding BOE entirely and running spending requests through the city council, like it's done in several other major cities here in the U.S. Happening now, President Jimmy Carter is in hospice care at the age of 98. America's oldest living president making the decision to spend his remaining time at home with his family following a series of short hospital stays. Carter was diagnosed with skin cancer in 2015. It has since spread to his brain and his liver. Now, the President Carter's grandson, Jason, says he's visited both grandparents on Friday. He says they're at peace with the decision and their family is full of love. John also pointing out some of Carter's accomplishments. He graduated top 10% at the Naval Academy, then served in the nuclear sub program several years before becoming the 39th president. And then on Friday, the building at the Naval Academy was renamed in Carter's honor. He graduated there in 1946. Download that FOX45 News app for your breaking news, up-to-the-minute coverage, traffic conditions, school closings, weather, anytime. Just search WBFF in your app store.
We're off to a little bit of a chilly start this morning, but numbers are going to warm up fast. We end up close to 60 degrees today. And this is just the start of another mild February week. I'll let you know where these temperatures are trending for the rest of the week in a couple of minutes. It's 8:08. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News.
Fox 45 News, winner of 17 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
We are almost at a midpoint of this year's legislative session in Annapolis, and much of the discussion has surrounded crime and how to make our city safer. Eyes are also on Maryland's budget as Governor Wes Moore unveiled his plan just last month, and now it's up to the comptroller's office to keep state spending in check. Now, new state comptroller Brooke Learman has been in office for just over a month now, and she's already making an impact. Yesterday, I sat down with Learman to discuss her term thus far. Brooke Learman is the first woman to serve as comptroller for the state of Maryland. In her first month, she's hit the ground running. We asked her about the economic outlook for the state, and particularly Baltimore.
There's so much going on, and one of the things that we're really focusing on is how we can build more communities all over the state and here in Baltimore that are more equitable, more resilient, and more prosperous, right? Whether that's through the tax code and working with our governor and General Assembly.
Her administration inherited a budgetary surplus of $2.5 billion in the state's rainy day fund. After years of conservative budgets from the Hogan administration, some fear excess spending under the Democrat-led state legislature.
We're going to pass a budget that's both fiscally prudent and socially responsible. That's what we do here in Maryland.
Comptroller Learman says one of her goals is to modernize budgetary processes that work well and upgrade the ones that aren't as efficient.
Whether that's through the tax code and working with our governor and General Assembly, whether it's just ensuring our administration of our tax system is more streamlined and modernizing our processes so it's easier to do business in the state.
And for all of those Marylanders waiting to file their taxes, Learman says, get it done.
Returns due April 18th, and I remind people, the faster you get it in, the faster we send you your refund.
Now, today is the last day, of Shop Maryland Energy Weekend. Goes to the 20th, actually. So prices, no 6% sales tax on your select big household items. We're talking washers, dryers, refrigerators. Learman also addressed the importance of these appliances.
Consumers, all Marylanders, and anybody who's shopping in our Maryland businesses can buy new or used Energy Star appliances and save that 6% sales tax this weekend. But also, we know that these products, because they're more energy efficient, you're saving money on your monthly bill over the long term. So it's a great deal.
So that means any appliance that qualifies as Energy Star eligible, no 6% sales tax, February 18th through the 20th, so you have until President's Day. Coming up here, youth crime is rising in Baltimore starting off the year. We've got new information surrounding the 16-year-old charged in the murder in a January quintuple shooting. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. All right, I want to get back to the mayor's conduit deal with BGE and bring in David Williams with the Taxpayer Protection Alliance into this conversation. Good morning to you.
Good morning. And this is really a critical thing to talk about because we're talking about infrastructure. We're talking about conduit. I know some people may not think that's really entertaining or sexy, but it's important because it's carrying, gas, electricity. We're talking about cable, telecommunications. And what's happened in the last week is really unacceptable. Lack of transparency. The Board of Estimates, at least 2 members, trying to do the right thing on the Board of Estimates. But there's a lot to unpack here, Taylor, and none of it's good, quite frankly.
Well, let's get to the crux of it. Why is it that the majority of city council and voters voted against this deal? I mean, how could the mayor now move forward with it? Get to the crux of that.
Yeah, so basically by selling this conduit or giving BGE, access to this conduit at a very low price, right, is you're doing this in a city that needs this infrastructure, and you're going to have a private company then dictating potentially the terms of where they expand this infrastructure, where they expand the conduit, and you can't have that because you have a lot of neighborhoods in the city that BG&E may think, something, we don't want to go into that part of the city, and that's why the city has to retain control of this. And listen, the citizens got this, right? I mean, back in November, I think the number is 77% of the citizens said yes, the city should be controlling this. You have city council members saying yes, the city should be controlling this. And I don't know why there's such a rush by the mayor to do this deal. And something just stinks that he is trying to do this in such a manner that is non-transparent and is really, I think, ultimately going to hurt the city.
I mean, this was able to move through the Board of Estimates. Councilman Cohen even said he'd be open to just banning the Board of Estimates. What do you think needs to change in order to rein in the power that's seemingly just been given to the mayor to make these kind of decisions?
Yeah, the Board of Estimates has a history of not making great decisions. And, Zeke Cohen, his Twitter thread the other day was actually brilliant because he called into question really the decision making on the Board of Estimates. We've seen them approving travel for people after the fact. So they're supposed to be a watchdog. The Board of Estimates is supposed to be there in the taxpayers' corner helping them, but they failed to do that. And listen, Nick Mosby and Bill Henry did the right thing last week. They didn't vote and they stayed away. And now the mayor said, no, it's moving forward. So if you're not going to follow the rules, why have the rules and why even have these established? So, Taylor, I think the next step is probably going to be the Attorney General and getting them involved, because you can't have the law department in the city of Baltimore getting involved because they are, at the behest of the mayor. So, there's way too much power with one person, the mayor, who has all this power on the Board of Estimates and throughout the city. And again, this is a deal that I am just blown away. I work for a national organization, and I haven't seen this sort of thing in a very long time, this level of non-transparency. And why rush it, Taylor? Why rush this project? Have hearings. If the mayor is so confident of this, then have the hearings, have people come in and defend it. But he's not doing that.
That's similar to what Comptroller Bill Henry said. He's going to be joining us at 8:30 to weigh in, and we'll continue to keep our viewers updated on this. Thanks, David Williams, Taxpayer Protection Alliance. Appreciate your insight on this.
Thank you.
Alrighty, let's get over to our forecast here. Meteorologist Amy Aronson bundling up this morning to walk the dog, to take a little rest, but later that coat's coming right off, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to feel nice later on. Little cloudy right now looking down at Towson, and still a little bit chilly out there. Feels like winter this morning. We're in the 30s, upper 30s, low 40s to begin. But by this afternoon, these temperatures are going to be warming, and it's going to feel much more comfortable outside for whatever you want to do outside later today. We're starting off with the clouds. We can see that on the weather map currently. Not much happening otherwise. And eventually these clouds will break and actually clear and allow some sunshine to peek through. And that's going to bring our numbers up. So temperatures will warm through the 30s, the 40s, eventually into the upper 50s to near 60 today. And that trend is going to continue. Tomorrow morning, not as cold. We'll start off in the mid 40s during the morning. We'll head into the upper 50s to near 60 in the afternoon. Yes, we could see a brief shower, a stray shower or a sprinkle, but I think most of your President's Day is also dry. And here come the low 60s in a lot of spots, so it should feel mild again tomorrow. Rain chances actually hold off until Tuesday. That's when I throw in the chance for some spotty showers. They become more likely midweek with a couple of weather makers scooting their way on through. And that's actually going to bring us some temperature ups and downs, too. We've got upper 50s for the next 2 days, mid 60s on Tuesday, which should feel really, really nice, followed by a big drop on Wednesday. So as the showers move through, a cooler day on Wednesday. But then look at Thursday, a nice warm day with high temperature shooting right into the low 70s. And according to the Climate Prediction Center in their 8 to 14-day temperature outlook, this runs all the way through March 4th. There's a decent chance for above average temperatures through that point. You'll notice here in Baltimore, we're still included in that orange color. In the short term, we do have a couple of ups and downs. We do have a couple of exceptions to that forecast. Although we are tracking temperatures well into the mid-60s through Tuesday, we're briefly cooler Wednesday, briefly warmer again on Thursday, and then temperatures come right back down Friday into Saturday from the 50s back into the 40s. And yes, there is a brief chance for some rain, potentially even some snow showers by early Saturday. So we'll have to keep a watchful eye on that. Taylor?
The world's largest student-run philanthropy effort is underway at Penn State University. How they're raising money for pediatric cancer research. And NASCAR's biggest race kicks off its 75th season today. In our next half hour, we'll show you what you can expect as the historic season begins. You're watching Fox 45. Morning news, all local, all morning.
It looks terrible. The process has been rushed. People, communities feel shut out. Elected officials feel shut out. And it looks like this was a power play between the mayor and BGE.
Now, continuing coverage this morning on the details and the fallout from Baltimore's Mayor Scott Brandon's deal with the BGE and the conduit system that's now been approved. The utility is proposing rate hikes for all customers, not just city residents, in its multi-year plan just filed with state regulators on Friday. Comptroller Bill Henry joining us live this morning to drill into this issue. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share what's been going on with the people of Baltimore.
Absolutely. Like, you took quite a stand this week, standing against the conduit deal with BGE. Why?
Well, first of all, we don't know if this is a good deal or not. I have said from the very beginning that I could be open to this if it can be shown that the numbers work. No one has shown me that. We should be expecting that DOT would be providing the kind of projections and historical data to show that what BGE is offering is a good deal. We should be expecting that the consultant that we hired last fall and are paying $50,000 to study the conduit issue, we should expect that they should finish their report and present that information to residents and officials before we make any decision. But instead, this was just dropped on us a couple weeks ago and told that it had to pass before February 15th, or I'm sorry, before February 17th, when BGE was going to the Public Service Commission.
So why wasn't this put to a bid? I mean, couldn't the city possibly get a better deal? You're saying you don't know if it's a great deal. Why wasn't this put up for a bid?
As I understand it, this was an outgrowth of negotiations between BGE and the city on technically a separate matter. We had, if I can go back a little bit in time, back in 2015, the Department of Transportation came to the Board of Estimates and said, we are not collecting enough money in conduit fees from the different people who use our underground conduit. We're not collecting enough to do all of the deferred maintenance and all of the upkeep on that conduit. We need to raise our rate. Our rate was about $1 a linear foot. So the Board of Estimates voted to raise the fee to $3.33 a linear foot, which was the amount that a report had calculated was necessary. BGE and the other conduit users took the city to court, and we settled out of court in 2016 and only raised our rate to about $2 a linear foot. So we're still not collecting what we should be collecting in order to actually take care of an asset that belongs to all city residents and is probably worth hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion or more. And then while we were negotiating the extension of that out-of-court settlement and agreement, BG&E said, hey, how about this? Instead of us paying you any money directly as a fee, why don't you just let us make the capital improvements to the conduit? That way we can write it off our taxes and you get more work done.
So essentially, BGE could make millions off this deal since they can charge companies for the use of the conduit.
Oh, no, they don't get to, they're not going to get to take that part over. We're still going to be charging fees to the other users, but now instead of paying us a fee, which is just money out of their pocket coming into the city so that the city can have this work done, BGE can do the work themselves and take advantage of all sorts of different tax breaks so that they will be effectively paying less money to do what is effectively about the same amount of work.
So let me get this right. Under this agreement, does the city have to pay BGE for the use of the conduit?
No.
Okay. Now, curious here, there are implications, real implications for a private company controlling the pipe system throughout the city. What are your concerns in that nature?
Well, there are a couple. First of all, right now, the city has an MBE WBE program that we do with our contracting whenever we're doing any kind of large project, in which the city sets goals and makes sure that there are certified MBE and WBE contractors to be subs on those projects, and we can require, depending on the project, a certain amount of work be set aside for those businesses. MBE, WBE businesses tend to be more local, and we're making sure that more of the city's money is being kept in the area. One of the things that will go away with this deal is we can't require BGE use our program. They have their own voluntary deal with the PSC. I can't speak to whether or not they have to do work. If you ask the administration will say that they often exceed the goals, but that's not a requirement. Whereas if it's with the city, we can hold city agencies and the contractors to making that that level of work happen. There's also the issue of the city's equity law. We have a law on the books that requires the city to keep in mind when we're doing capital improvements, whether an area has been historically disinvested in or not. And so under the city's equity law, we would be required to make sure that conduit repairs are happening in neighborhoods that right now haven't seen that same level of reinvestment as other parts of the city. But if we sign this deal and BG&E is deciding where conduit repairs happen, there's no guarantee that there will be any kind of equity focus.
So this deal essentially could potentially take power away from city leaders in making sure that the communities that need to be served are served because it's now the hands of a privatized company. Okay, so do you think that the Board of Estimates needs to see a change here? This was able to move through pretty quickly. You called it rushed to cut down on power essentially from the mayor's just negotiations. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I saw that Councilman Cohen had called for the Board of Estimates to be reformed or abolished. I would say abolished would be very complicated because the Board of Estimates as a body is all through how the city runs. Numerous references in the charter. What would be very simple would be to reform the Board of Estimates by taking the two people who work for the mayor off the board and making that board an actual democratic decision-making body where the votes are just held by the three elected leaders who were all elected citywide. Ironically, we had such a charter amendment before us when the now mayor and I were both in the city council, and that charter amendment was introduced by then Council President Brandon Clark. I'm sorry, and then Council President Brandon Scott. And for whatever reason, as the sponsor, he pulled that amendment back, and we have not moved forward with it since.
I mean, voters thought they made a decision in this fight in November, but that's clearly not the case.
Yeah.
What is next in this fight?
What is next is exactly what's going on here. Right now, the administration is claiming that this deal has already been approved. The council president and I have continued to explain that the deal has not been approved because we did not attend last Wednesday's meeting as scheduled, and as such, they did not have quorum. They did not have the number of people there sufficient to hold a meeting, and so we continue to try to explain that this has not passed yet. It will still be on the Board of Estimates agenda at our next scheduled meeting on March 1st. By March 1st, two other things will definitely have happened. One is we will have passed the deadline that the council set for subpoenaing certain records and information from the administration when they met previously. And also the council will be having their next hearing on this matter next week. So it's possible that by the time we get to March 1st, we will have done the level of due diligence that the council president and I feel is necessary to make a final decision on this. But it is certainly not done yet.
At this point, that is not the case, though. Thank you so much, Comptroller Bill Henry. Thank you for your insight and speaking to us directly about this conduit deal.
Thank you for the opportunity. Have a good day.
Likewise. And it will be a chilly morning one, but, you know, today is going to be highs in the 60s. It is going to be a great day. Meteorologist Amy Aronson is taking a look at the next weather maker. It's moving in. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
8:37 right now, and it is Sunday, February 19th. I'm Taylor Stewart, and it's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great weekend, going to be a great week, and your forecast, well, it's looking like that. Meteorologist Amy Aronson with that update.
Yeah, a little chilly right now, but temperatures are going to start to warm again. After a cooler start to the weekend, temperatures are rebounding quickly. So we're already in the mid-30s right now. We're all just above that freezing point, and these numbers are going to continue to climb today. So today we make a run for the mid and upper 50s, a far cry from the 40s that we were dealing with yesterday. We should also see some sun this afternoon. Tomorrow for President's Day, we are going to cloud up our skies, but that's not going to stop our temperatures from warming. So it should be another nice day if you want to get some fresh air. Yes, we could see a few sprinkles in the afternoon, but I think the day as a whole far from a washout, with highs headed for the mid and upper 50s to near 60 degrees again. And these are actually not the warmest days of the week. We've got some 60s, even 70s in sight within the next 7 days. I'll let you know exactly when we get that warm and when we could also see some showers this week in just over 10 minutes. Taylor?
And I want everyone to get mad and get angry. There isn't one thing that's going to stop things like this from happening.
Mayor Brent Scott voicing his frustration after juvenile crime this week. Yet another student shot. A 15-year-old girl is in the hospital following a shooting Wednesday night. At least 21 young people have been shot so far this year in Baltimore. That is an 88% increase from this time last year. A 16-year-old is now in police custody accused of shooting another 16-year-old, Deontay Dorsey. He died near the Edmonton Westside High School shopping center back in January. It is a part of the youth crime crisis felt both among suspects and victims. Fox 45's Keith Daniels has that 16-year-old victim's family's call for justice.
Outside the Clarence Mitchell Jr. Courthouse in downtown Baltimore, family members wipe the grief away, and there is a touch on the shoulder for comfort. The father, stepmother, and aunt of murdered 16-year-old Deontay Dorsey shed tears while their lawyer talks about the gun violence that struck Dorsey and continues to grip other young people in the city.
As seriously as we take every child victim in this city, we also have to take seriously the crimes that are being committed by juveniles.
The family is outside the courthouse on the same day Dorsey's accused killer, a 16-year-old boy, appears for a bail hearing. At that hearing, a revelation. As reported by the Baltimore Banner, the 16-year-old suspect charged with murdering Dorsey was on juvenile probation for a prior gun charge when police say he opened fire last month on a crowd of students across from Edmonton Westside High School, killing Dorsey, wounding 4 other students. Baltimore District Judge Flynn Owens cited the teen suspect's juvenile record when denying him bail. Youth violence amid the debate over State Senator Jill Carter's controversial bill that would prevent juveniles from being tried as adults, even for crimes like murder. Carter says the Youth Equity Act is necessary because kids' brains aren't fully developed until at least 25 years old.
The very children under our current law that could be automatically charged as an adult, tried by a jury, are not even eligible to serve on a jury because they're under the age of 18. So right there, you're talking about a major hypocrisy and inconsistency in our system.
Still, back at the courthouse, Dorsey's family, hoping the 16-year-old suspect in their loved one's case remains in adult court.
Justice has to be done, not on street corners, but in courthouses.
Now, that was our Keith Daniels reporting. He mentioned Senator Jill Carter's bill that would automatically start every case involving a minor in the youth justice system. Some victim advocate groups say if the bill passes, it could be a slap in the face to those victims.
Even on the most serious offenses, you're talking about taking an individual and putting him into a program for 6 to 9 months and then returning him to the street.
Now, some are also concerned because juvenile records are sealed, meaning it may be impossible to know if someone has committed a violent crime in the past. Baltimore City State Attorney Ivan Bates wants to strengthen misdemeanor gun sentences. He's backing a bill that would increase possible sentences to 5 years, no matter the age of the suspect. He's citing current rules that allow people out after serving just 25% of a sentence. That's less than a year in some cases. That bill in Annapolis now has bipartisan support, but it is not clear when it will be up for a vote by state lawmakers. If you want to contact your area lawmaker about crime in your community, go ahead and point your phone at the screen there. That QR code will take you to our website, which lists official emails and phone numbers of the local state senators and delegates.
And we are counting down to all the spring things. 21 days now until we spring forward, 26 days until St. Patrick's Day, and 29 days until we kick off the spring equinox. But it's going to feel spring-like again this week. I'll explain where our temperatures are headed and when we're also tracking some showers in a couple of minutes. It's 8:42. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News.
Happening now, the largest student-run philanthropy effort in the world. It's happening at Penn State University. On your right screen is a live look at the event known as the Thon, and where students gather each year for a weekend to raise millions of dollars for pediatric cancer research. The 46-hour continuous dance event raised $13 million in 2022 as children with cancer and their families joined students for a fight in a great cause. Alrighty, let's get to America's Steals and Deals. Take a look.
The following segment is sponsored by Knocking.
You guys, we have one of the hottest trends from one of your favorite beauty brands and anti-aging brands, Wrinkles Schminkles. Now, every time they come onto the show, and they've been coming on since the very beginning, we sell out. So pay attention because this is a new product. These are their self-dissolving micro needle patches, and here's how they work. You simply peel off the patch, apply with a bit of pressure, and you'll start to see the incredible results. I like to wear these overnight, and they literally melt into your skin. The micro needles are actually crystals on the patch infused with ingredients to plump and hydrate your skin, just like micro needling. A favorite celebrity skin treatment that you can now do at home. Collagen and peptides melt away and infuse deep down into the skin, helping smooth those fine lines and wrinkles, whether it's around your mouth, by your eyes, between your eyes. We all have our areas. Now, most skin treatments sit on top of your skin. The patches work below the surface, and the results come from inside out. into the dermal layers of your skin. We always sell out on Wrinkles Schminkles, so do not wait on this. They come in a pack of 4. Get a few boxes, try them out. Trust me, the results are fantastic. The deal on Wrinkles Schminkles microneedle patches is 25% off. These are a must-have in any beauty routine. Simply go to asadeals.com.
The day is finally here. The Daytona 500 kicks off the 2023 NASCAR season. And even though the NASCAR season culminates with a championship at the end of the year, it's the Daytona 500 that many drivers have on the top of their list. Jill Jelnick from our Sinclair sister station is at the Daytona International Speedway with a preview of the race.
The Daytona 500 is unlike any other race on the Cup Series schedule. It's a race that has kicked off dynasties, launched careers, and it's the only Cup Series race where you can call yourself a champion at the very end. While the Daytona 500 means different things to different drivers, they all agree on one thing. You win at Daytona, and you're a legend.
Daytona 500 is its own race within itself, so I like to think that our season starts after the 500.
It's the race that every driver wants on their resume. But it's one of the hardest races to win.
You have a better chance winning the lottery than you do the Daytona 500.
Two-time Cup Series champion Kyle Busch has done seemingly everything in his career, but a win in NASCAR's most prestigious race still eludes him.
Checking that box would be big. Last one to be able to not say that I've had a great career already, but would certainly be icing on the cake.
Alex Bowman will be the pole sitter for Sunday's race, with Kyle Larson next to him in the front row. But just because you have a good position, there's still no guarantee.
Been a part of driving some really fast race cars down here for Hendrick Motorsports, and obviously really fortunate to be driving such a fast Ally 48 Camaro. So got to get the job done on Sunday, but it's a really good start to the week for us.
Defending Cup Series champion Joey Logano and Eric Almirola won their dual qualifying races and will share row 2. 7-time Cup Series champion Jimmy Johnson, who returns on a part-time basis after 2 seasons in IndyCar, will race 39th. And right behind him, extreme sports icon Travis Pastrana rounding out the 40.
I was so nervous, man. I've been wired up for a month.
Only one can win the Harley J. Earl Trophy, but being a part of the Great American Race is never taken for granted.
As a racing fan, there's nothing like Daytona.
Driver introductions for the Daytona 500 kick off at 2:15 Eastern, followed by the flag drop at 2:30. Reporting from Daytona International Speedway, I'm Jill Jelnick.
And you know where you can watch the Daytona 500 here on Fox 45. Coverage starts at 2:30 with the green flag going up shortly thereafter. Let's get over to meteorologist Amy Aronson, and it's going to be a nice one today, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely the better out of the 2 weekend days. If you spent yesterday inside, maybe today's the day to get a little bit of fresh air and some sunshine, some vitamin D. It's going to be nice outside today, upper 50s. That's where we're headed. A nice mild end to the weekend, especially for February standards. I am tracking some showers by the time we get into midweek, but then a late week warm up will follow with temperatures soaring well into the 70s by Thursday. Today, we're not exactly reaching that type of temperature, but it's still going to feel better than yesterday. We're swapping out the 40s for the 50s this afternoon. We make a run for the mid and upper 50s as we head through the day today. And similar setup for President's Day tomorrow. If you're lucky enough to be off of work and want to enjoy some fresh air outside, maybe a nice little walk with the family. Yes, it's going to be cloudy and we could see a couple of sprinkles, but I think it's far from a washout. Not a lot of rain expected, and it's still going to be really nice and mild. So high temperatures will make a run for the mid and upper 50s again. Now let's talk about our next weather maker. First of all, I want to point out that we are starting off cloudy this morning. You can see that on the weather map here. You can also see some clearing off to our west, and that's what we'll be seeing here this afternoon. Next little weather maker, that cold front out to our west there. Not much happening with it. Not much is going to happen even as it heads our way. Sends us a couple of sprinkles tomorrow as it drops in from the north. A better chance for a few spotty showers come Tuesday as this secondary cold front pushes on through. We actually get a warm front coming in midweek, and that sends us another chance for showers. So a little unsettled for the first half of the week here. Temperatures will be all over the place with these chances of showers coming through too. So temperatures over the next 2 days will be in the upper 50s, not bad. But then we jump into the mid 60s on Tuesday with that chance for some showers. A brief cool down will follow midweek with highs back in the upper 40s. But then look at where we're headed on Thursday. Thursday is the day for anything outside. Low 70s are back, at least briefly. And then we're going to cool it right back down Friday into Saturday. And you'll notice Saturday, I'm actually throwing in that chance for some wintry weather, a chance for some rain, even some snow showers. We'll talk more about that in just a couple of minutes. It's 8:53. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News. Almost 8:56 on this Sunday morning. The sun is finally breaking through the clouds that we've kind of been caught under all morning, but the sun is going to take over this afternoon. And that's what's going to help bring us into the upper 50s today. Tomorrow for President's Day, similar setup. I think we will be tracking a few more clouds plus a sprinkle possible, but still nice and mild, especially for President's Day, upper 50s, so that's not bad. Mid 60s will follow on Tuesday, but we do have a chance for showers that will take us through midweek. A cool down will follow briefly on Wednesday, but don't worry about that because the 70s are back briefly on Thursday. Now, I do want to talk about what I threw in there on Saturday because it looks like there is a chance, at least briefly, for some rain, some snow showers early Saturday morning. That would be our main concern coming up in the next 7 days in terms of winter weather. Right now, it doesn't look like a huge chance, but something certainly worth watching since we really haven't seen much winter weather so far this season. What we do know, it's going to get colder by next weekend. So we are tracking lows back in the upper 20s by Saturday morning and highs back in the mid 40s during the afternoon. So from 70s to snow within only 48 hours, only in Maryland.
We're nowhere near your normal high or normal low. I mean,
we're all over the place.
It's 73 on Thursday. What are we talking about,
Wacky
Amy?
stuff. Yeah.
I know. Well,
you really got to pay attention day to day, right?
Exactly. Got to stay with us
Yeah.
here on Fox 45. All right, Daytona 500 is coming up later today at 2:30. Then the green flag goes up. But thanks for joining us here this Sunday on Fox 45 Morning News. Have a great week.